Hey, it's Shep. I'm not going to get these cards graded, and I'm going to tell you why in detail so you don't send in cards that will not get a Gem Mint 10. As you know, there's 4 categories for grading. Edges, corners, centering, and surface. And surface is the most commonly overlooked subcategory of grading. So let me show you something that people might overlook with a card like this. If you zoom in really close, you see all this missing paint? It looks like little black specks here. That's where the print rolled over the card and it just missed some spots. It wasn't, maybe there's little small micro divots in the card, so the ink doesn't stick to the actual cardboard. You can see some divots in here if you look inside the 270 there. You can see those little bitty divots. If the paint doesn't soak up into those divots, it's especially on a part that's colorful like this, it's going to leave those little black marks. Let's look all the way around. There's those little black marks quite prevalent on the border. Here's some more on the bottom. And here another surface issue on the back. Little bitty white marks here. So look very closely and realize that these will keep you from gemming. Look at all those little micro white spots on the back. They run all the way around. So if you're looking at this card from this distance, you're like, okay, this is a 10. Look at that. The centering's pretty good. It looks super clean. People might at the card show might say, oh, I got a minty copy here for you. Let me charge you full price or over comps. Don't go for it. You got to look really close with your light. Next up is a Groudon, and this is a really nice card to get a high multiplier, but this particular copy is not going to fly. You see this print line across the front, very common on Scarlet Violet holos, full art holos. Also, you see these little micro bubbles. Here's one right here under the U. Here's one right here, right under the print line. Those are issues on the front that are easily overlooked by many people, and that could easily result in you getting a 9 instead of a 10 on a card like this. Because again, it looks pretty good from here. When you look up close, those print lines, especially one that's as clear as this one, will not fly. One other minor issue with this card is that it was crimped a little bit here on the back, which is pretty common. And this is something you can flatten down and fix. But if you use too much moisture, it could leave a water spot. So be very careful and very minimal if you're going to put any moisture on here to fix those and flatten those out. Next up, we have a Cosmic Eclipse Pikachu. Love this card. Huge multiplier if you can get it in a 10 jumped up from a raw card. But look, another print line right across prominently on the top of the holo of this beautiful card. That really hurts it on the front. If you're going to have a print line, you can get away with it on the back. And you still might be able to get away with one print line like that on the front if it's not too obvious. But it's always very risky. I want to show you something, though. These corners are not helping this particular card get a 10. Look at that corner. There's 2 little spots there. But what I really want to show you on the back is that, you know, most of these corners are going to be perfectly curved around the edges. But look at this corner. It's like miscut. It's got a sharp angle right here. It's not perfectly rounded. Now, there's nothing necessarily in the handbook for PSA to say that's not acceptable, but it does affect the overall eye appeal of this card. You can see it here on the front. On the other side, this is perfectly rounded. This one has come cut like more like an angle and down, and that could be subjective up to the grader as far as what grade to give that as far as the eye appeal. So if they were on the fence about giving this a 9 or a 10, something like that could drop it down to a 9. So if you see that issue with the cut, you really want to make sure the rest of the card is really minty clean. This one is not going to get a 10. It might get a 9. It might get an 8. So let's look at centering for these black border cards. The big problem is there's no top border. So how do you judge the bottom border? You judge the bottom border against the left and right sides. This one is very right heavy. The bottom border matches the left side, but not the right side. So in this case, not only is it left to right not centered, this one the bottom to the right doesn't match. Next up is a Raichu. Another one to look for surface issues. Look at this print line running across right here. And on this one, we have two different types of print lines. That's like the normal print line. And look at this print line running down here. These print lines are a different type of print line. I don't have a name for them. You see this running across here with the black too. And then this white print line is the first one I showed you. And here it is again. There's two different types of print lines. This one runs up and down, almost like a cross. Sometimes they end up making a hashtag on these Scarlet Violet full hollows. So you got to be careful about your surfaces here on these particular cards. This is a scratch over here too, right in the bed stand coming up. Right there it is. There's a scratch there. So these can easily be overlooked. So be careful about your hollows. Let's talk centering real quick at this Leafeon. It is top heavy, and you can see that fairly easily. But one rule of thumb that I've kind of figured is if the text at the bottom is sort of centered like that, like this one, it tends to be slightly top heavy. This one is not off by much, actually. If it's perfectly centered, it will be for sure top heavy. This one has a little bit more space below, and that makes it closer to being correct. Just a slight bit more space on that below there, below the text, and it will be really nicely centered. Okay, here's a Tyranitar with another similar issue. And in this one, you can see that the print line comes here, and I'm going to try to catch it coming right across here. The print line runs right there. Can you see it running right there? And there's another print line running here. And these are different than normal print lines, in my opinion. They only occur on the hollow, whereas other print lines can come through the border. And this makes kind of like a hashtag. So look for that. Also on these, you're going to see these little air pockets, these little air bubbles that somehow come into the card where they're not printed completely flatly, and they're going to pop out. These little air bubbles will cost you getting a 10. I can get away with one, but when you have two or more, you're getting real risky with going for 10s on those. Here's another example of centering. It's very bottom heavy. You see that? So if you're trying to judge the centering just based on the text, you can see that there's a lot more space below the text than there is above, which means that top centering is going to be thin. Last but not least is this beautiful Jolteon, and it's beautiful even though it's not a 10, but we do have a top-heavy card, and with the prismatic on the rainbow borders, you're going to see commonly some paint loss here, which gives it kind of a silvery shine on the edges here. You can sometimes pass through a little bit of that because it's very, very common, and I do see prismatic getting 10s regularly. However, it's not ideal, especially if you have too much. On the back, I want to show you a couple different types of corners here. This corner and edge has quite a bit of whiting. This corner is going to be too bad. It's not going to pass with PSA for a 10. If this was the only thing wrong with the card, if it was perfectly centered and pristine on the front, this would knock it down to a 9 because of the way the whiting comes down into the card. It's not just on the edge of the corners here. It comes down into the card, and it's not considered a print alignment dot, which would be a small dot in the very center of the corner. So that one would not fly. There's a little bit of issue right there with that edge. We also have an edge issue right here. That's, again, coming way down into the card. That could knock it down even to an 8, just to give you an idea of where I think that would be. And if you look at this corner here, it's not super clean either. There's a lot of issue with that corner. It's kind of got a little bit of chew chunk out of it. You want your corners to be dots, not smudges and different shapes. You want them to be as perfectly as being a little dot as possible. Because look at this one. It's not really a dot. It's almost like somebody a little ant or something chewed something out on it. We don't want that. We want our dots to be perfectly circular, right in the center of the corner on the back. Then you can get away with them. You can get away with 4 of them. I've done that many times. 4 little tiny dots can pass through. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope this was helpful. Please like and subscribe for more great content. I love you all. Thank you so much.